What's up guys, it's Dygnity, and today I'm going to tell you guys how to get your seller limits increased right away. So, but first, before we jump into it, I was going to show you guys my setup as it looks like for a month into eBay. So yeah, not so great. But over here we have a bunch of boxes, all of our shipping supplies, everything over there. This is like a $3 little light box I built for myself. Just to make sure that we can take pictures with white backgrounds. Up under here, this massage table is not ours, but all of that is our current inventory, plus these are the rest of the $6,500 in ties that we bought. Coming in another video. And yeah, so let's jump into it, dudes. I've been selling just over a month on eBay, I think 1 month and 1 day. But before we even hit the month mark, we had a 500 listing limit with $25,000 in value. So we jumped up really quickly, guys. Very, very easily. And I promise that if you kind of follow what we did, then you should be able to jump up in listings just as easily as we did. So first and foremost, I have a few things to just kind of cover that you should be considerate of if you're going to try to get your limits increased at all. So first and foremost, be kind and be courteous. Don't be an asshole to eBay if you call them. Definitely accept a no gracefully. These things are all things that are going to improve your chances of getting your list limits increased, even if they give you a no at any point in this stage. Number two, eBay tracks every single phone call that you make to them. So if you call eBay, you can expect that the next person and the next person, the next person, the next person that sees your cases will be able to look at exactly what was said on the, I don't know if they transcript them, I don't know, whatever. Every single time I've called, they've been able to look into my account history and see exactly when I called and for what reasons. In using that to your advantage, right, set yourself up for your limits to be increased in the future. Now, if you call and say, hey, just increase my limits, I have a bunch of stuff, that might work and probably will, at least to get you one limit increase. But if you plan ahead and you're very smart, then every time you call back, you should be able to get a limit increase, especially if you lay the foundation in your first few phone calls. Last but not least, use your drafts. Now, if you've already hit your listing limit, you can go ahead and continue to create drafts. And trust me, everybody who reviews your account at eBay can see these drafts in real time. So use that to your advantage. If you say, I have a bunch of stuff, go ahead and take the pictures as if you were going to be able to list them right that moment, so they can see that you're honest about what you're going to list. So let's get started off with the beginners. If you're at the 5 or 10 limit listing limit, you've just decided to jump onto eBay or just decided to start selling on eBay, and you've posted your first few things and then you've hit that limit. Generally, new sellers on eBay are going to have a coupon, right, for 50 free listings. Doesn't make sense for them to limit you at 5 or 10, right, if you've got a 50 free coupon. So go ahead and give eBay a call. Now, you'll see somewhere in the seller limits help at the very bottom, there's a place to call us. You want to make sure you get to the seller limits help portion and then click the phone call because they will know that you're calling about seller limits and they will connect you to the right person right away. You're going to get a recording that says something along the lines of these are your current limits, you have 5 items and $250, whatever it is, and is there anything else you'd like to do? Just say agent or representative. Now, this thing is going to tell you that, yes, I can connect you to an agent or representative, but they're not going to be able to do anything. That's garbage, that's trash, that's so 99% of you just hang up the phone and give up. Don't give up. Go ahead and say nothing, because it will go ahead and connect you. And when you get the guy on the phone or girl, let them know that you have begun to sell personal items on eBay. You want to build this into either a hobby or a full business, whatever it is, and the 5 limit or 10 limit that you're at right now is just not going to cut it. Now, if you've already prepared some drafts, they're probably going to look through those without even saying anything to you, and qualify this with, I see you guys have given me a 50 listing promotion. That was the whole reason I decided to go ahead and start doing this, one of them at least. And it doesn't make any sense for you guys to give me this if you're not going to let me use all 50 listings. And most of them will accept that logic because, well, it's pretty valid. So go ahead and do that, and you should instantly get your limits increased from 5 or 10 to 50. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. I don't see any issue in there. I would definitely make sure that all the information in your account is correct, and make sure your PayPal is linked at this point. Not necessarily verified, but linked at this point. So something else that I think is really important for you to do at this particular venture is to go ahead and tell them, hey, I'm expecting to get a bunch more inventory. I have plans to scale my business. I'm thinking about maybe buying a few pallets or doing some other sourcing. And if that comes through, can I call you guys back and have my limits increased at that time? And they're generally going to tell you, yes, go ahead. When that happens, just give us a call back and we'll see what we can do. And this is important because I assume that they write that down to some degree. And it's what helped me get from 50 to 100. Let's go ahead and talk about 50 to 100. Now, on the 50 to 100, you've already used the first call to kind of lay your groundwork and say, hey, I'm going to be calling back later. When I called back to go from 50 to 100, I straight up did the exact same thing, whole process of calling them. And as soon as they picked up, I just went with, hey, I was told that you guys would increase my listing limit from 50 to 100 when this extra sourcing that I did came through. I said I was buying pallets. I ended up actually not being able to get the pallets. I lost the bid, but I had already had a bid in and I had planned on it. And I told them that I could give them a pallet manifest, and those are very easy to find online if you need to use one for yourself. I didn't ask them to increase my limits. I said, and I quote, that when I called the first time, they told me to call back and you would increase my limits. That just kind of like psychologically turns the conversation around. You're no longer asking, you're actually telling, but in a very nice way. And you're validating, you're qualifying that with the fact that the person that you spoke to before had told you so. And they're going to probably look in that little history and see. Now, this is also another important thing. If you've got listings in drafts, go ahead and have them prepared in drafts. They're going to look through your drafts. They're going to see what else you're aiming to sell and then probably make a decision. Now, I expect that you should have no issues going from 5 or 10 listings to 50 and from 50 to 100. That's a pretty smooth process. I think just about everybody is going to have no issues as long as your account's in good standing. You've made maybe a couple sales by this point, waiting on this time to pass, and you've got at least, some track record of success, and all your information is correct. Now, here's the kicker, right? Going from 100 to 500 for me was a little bit of a fluke. I actually skipped 250 altogether, and here's how. I went to Goodwill and I picked up 2 bags of Beanie Babies, and it turns out that whoever had donated these bags of Beanie Babies had actually taken really good care of them. They were in excellent condition and there were some really rare ones in there. So I did my due diligence. I researched all of them. We got kind of excited because we thought they might have some value, but again, it's a Beanie Baby, so there's really no telling if that's true or not. But at least on the surface, they look like they have value. They're better than a lot of the other listings that are selling for a lot of money. So I made all the drafts for these Beanie Babies, and then I called them back. I said, hey, I have a bunch of Beanie Babies that I just found, and I'm interested in listing them, but dude, I have 100, I think it was 100 listings at that point, which is like $5,000 or $2,500. I can't quite remember. And that's not going to be enough because I think some of these Beanie Babies exceed that $2,500 or $5,000 limit at face value, right? And if you look, you can see. The guy told me, I'm looking at your draft right now. I see the one in particular you're talking about. I have a Princess Diana Beanie Baby that has a few errors and makes it kind of rare. And I'm like, dude, this is pretty valuable. He told me that I'm aware of the Beanie Baby market. I know some of them go for tons and tons of money on here. And yes, I agree. I believe your Beanie Baby does exceed the value of your current listing limit. He put me on hold. He came back. He asked me to verify my PayPal, which I had already done. But that's an additional step in the verification process. You can attach it to your account. Linking is one, and then verifying is two. I think it's just like an email right to your email. So just another step to ensure that you are the person that you say you are, that is your PayPal attached to that eBay account, and to kind of, root out some fraud. He also gave me another layer of personal verification. Asked me questions like, where did I live in 2014? Where did I live in 2007? Did I ever, own this car? Which auto loan provider was the provider for the loan for that car? Those kind of things. So I passed that, and he comes back and he says, because I asked for like $100,000 limit. I knew that this was my moment to try to go big. And he came back and said that he cannot give me $100,000 limits. My account at that point in time was just over 2 weeks old, and he's like, absolutely not. However, I can give you a $25,000 limit and 500 listings. And if these Beanie Babies do sell, he suggested that I sell some of the lesser valuable ones. If those sales go through correctly, there's no chargeback, there's no refund, there's no authenticity fraud, then he wouldn't have any issue reassessing my limit increase after those sales have been made to give me the ability to post one of these Beanie Babies for like, 100 grand, just to throw it out there to see if anybody in their right mind would actually sell it or buy it, sorry. So in that respect, you can do the same thing yourself, even if you haven't lucked into something like I did. Maybe you have jewelry that's very expensive. Maybe you have a car that's very expensive. Maybe you have some electronics that are very expensive. Maybe you have some vintage collectible stuff that maybe your parents have, maybe somebody that you know has, and you can use that just to draft. You don't necessarily have to sell it or anything like that, but you can use that to tell them I intend to sell this, get yourself verified through their extra verification processes, and then go ahead and get your limits increased. Now, I don't know if you're gonna get to 500 in the first month, but I'm pretty sure, 99% chance that as long as you did everything correctly, you'll at least go from your 5 or 10 limit to 50, you'll at least go from your 50 to 100, and if you already have some traction, if you're maybe, been selling for a few months, you're at 100 or you're at 250 or whatever it is, then it's very easy to leverage, let's say buying pallets, buying, let's say truckloads or whatever it is. Just go ahead and get manifests out there from the public, vendor liquidation companies, and use those manifests to, say, hey, this is what I expect to be coming. My bid is in, and I'm gonna need these limits increased, or I'm gonna be having 4 or 5 pallets in my garage, and that's just not acceptable. Be super kind, be super courteous, be super polite, because they've always been really good to me, and I've always approached them with that same level of respect, and I think that that's gonna get you the farthest. Accept the no gracefully, for sure. Have a good story, follow that up, and use that to your advantage, knowing that they track everything. So I hope that helps you guys. I know that I struggled in the very beginning, and I kind of just, found my way through it, and I wish somebody would have told me exactly how to do this like I just did, because that would have helped me out so much. I would have gone ahead and done that, and I would also suggest waiting about a week or so in between calling for limit increases. I mean, if you do it like a day and then call again the next day, probably not going to get as much success. But if you let it a week go by, you let a few more sales trickle in, especially as you creep from the 50 to 100 listing limit, you should also see a larger, more consistent volume of sales, just because you have more items out there, just because instead of looking for the 30 or 50 buyers, you're now looking for the 100 buyers. And yeah, it should be much easier for you. So proven track record is very helpful. Be super polite, be super courteous, have a good story, have some drafts up and runnings that you can use to kind of validate what you're saying, and use pallet free online, somewhere they had the pallet manifest, use those as well. And dudes, you guys should get your limits increased just like I did. So my name is Cody, aka Dygnity, and if this video helped you and you get your limits increased, please let me know in the comments, because I would like to make sure that this is working for other people. Smash that thumbs up button so other people who are in the same shoes as you are can go ahead and get their limits increased. Press subscribe for more awesome content, because me and my fiance, now wife, kind of awesome sometimes. And yeah, appreciate you guys tuning in. That's it for me. I'm out. Peace.